What a bad view there, huh? It's Mount Arrowsmith behind me. Lots of strange things going on around that hill. That is 100% for certain. Sun's going down. Thought I'd drive a ways up and hit this swamp here for backdrop. Pretty peaceful around here. I'm still here on the West Coast. Watching with a bated breath what's going to happen next up here in our country. If you watch the news, you're not from Canada, you know it's a shit show up here. It's unfortunate. Apparently, our dictator pulled some kind of emergency something or other. It's like a Wars Act. Only usually pulled in the war, during the war. And apparently it enables the government to seize your bank account if you are deemed as a supporter of the people protesting in Ottawa. So, warned by a bunch of people that I know and respect. Fairly smart cookies think that I might be a target if I go over there and start raising a ruckus and a following to go there. I may be deemed as one of these, what's it called, insurrectionists or something, whatever they call people lately, terrorists. They might seize my bank account and or arrest me. So we'll see. I'm obviously going to take my time, do the right thing at the right time, and but definitely gonna have to do something. So I'm thinking about possibly, due to what's going on in our capital of our country, I might possibly encourage a bunch of people to go on holiday there and as tourists and bring some money into the economy in Ottawa. I think that might be a great idea right about now. Actually, maybe that's the right thing to do, to support Ottawa itself and see if I can encourage a large number of tourists to go there on holiday. We'll see. What's coming is coming. Definitely going to go and do something at the right time. And but I'm working very hard at home to get my very important items done here as Sarah gets better from being sick. She's fine. She's getting better on the mend. And then we'll go at it. But in the meantime, I got some voices to be heard. Yesterday, I actually cut an hour out yesterday and read a whole bunch of them on an older camera I hadn't used in a while. And sure enough, the audio wasn't turned on the camera. Whole hour's worth. Precious hour. So anyway, let me get these shares out properly this time, alright? It's kind of chilly out right now. It's cold. Northeast Washington Memorial Weekend 2021 experience. Hello, Steve. My name is Jason. I'm from Spokane, Washington. My wife and I love to camp. We bought a little off-road camping clamshell camper last fall, which is a great fit, as we are recent empty nesters. We try to get out as often as possible, either just the two of us or with our friends. The previous Memorial Weekend, last weekend of May 2021, we went out, just the two of us. We went to one of our favorite spots, the Sullivan Lake area. This is located in the northeast corner of Washington, about 13 miles to Idaho, and about 13 miles to Canada. This area is in the foothills of the Canadian Rockies, well known for all large game, especially grizzly. We went to Sullivan Creek Camp area just northeast of the lake. There are 50 campsites maintained by the feds along the main road. After that, you come to a T in the road. To the right is a back mountain road that'll take you to Priest Lake, about 30 miles. To the left continues with some of the campgrounds heading toward Gypsy Meadows. There are 3 more campgrounds heading towards the meadows from the T, numbers 16, 18, and Gypsy Meadows, which is also a campground. Sites 16 and 18 are at least a mile from the T and are also separated by a minimum of a mile between each site. We headed up on a Wednesday, so had the pick of the lot. Just past site 18 was the snow line. We decided to stay at 16. We stayed there previous Memorial Weekend with friends. The spot is very neat as it is right where 2 main creeks merge. At this time of year, there is a lot of noise as it sounds like a rushing river due to a runoff. Anyway, we set up camp and made a night of it. As is common when using the restroom in the middle of the night, you tend not to stray too far from the site. The next morning while freshening up, I noticed there was a small scratch marks where we had peed maybe 18 inches by 18 inches in diameter. I thought maybe this is a raccoon or a fox or something, but noted to myself to be alert for anything in the area. I walked down to the latrine, we set up and noticed it was completely dug up. My senses just kicked up another notch. I walked down to the creek area, maybe 40-50 feet from the camper, and did not see any tracks in the soft soil other than ours. This soft soil goes all the way to the camper pretty much. We had our day and turned in for the night. The morning of day 2, I woke and surveyed the area. This time I did find something. About 20 feet from our camper was a birch tree between the camper and the creek. Behind the tree and pointing directly at our camper was a large footprint. I would say about a size 16. I've enclosed 2 pics. The pics are not the best. The print was the only thing noticeable. It was in a manner that looked like someone was standing behind the tree and peeking around to watch us, like the tree was cover. In the pics you can make out the toes and heel along with the arch. What you can't see is the details in the print that make it unmistakably human-like. I wish I could have taken better pics and aimed the camera at the camper for a better idea. Hindsight. That night our camper battery died. An alarm would beep every 15 seconds or so, and the only way it could stop was to disconnect the battery. Around 2 to 3 a.m. I did just that. As I got out of the camper, I used the flashlight to look around and make sure there was nothing getting ready to eat me. Across the road is the entrance to a thicket. The entrance is about 8 feet wide and 10 feet high. As I shined the light, right at the entrance to the thicket was 2 big green eyes staring at me. These eyes are about 6 to 8 feet in the air. It's hard to tell as the angle is looking up a slight slope, and it was pitch black. Whatever it was standing on 2 legs. It looked from side to side like a person getting ready to cross a street. I hollered to the wife, "Get my gun," as I kept a visual on the object. The thing did a lazy 180 turn and walked back into the woods. I didn't hear a thing. Not surprising due to the rushing water. I gave it a couple minutes and then walked up to the entrance, fired off a couple rounds of my Glock, and returned to the camper to remove the battery. As my wife and I lay in bed, we asked each other, what the hell was that? We also went on to talk about how eerie the trip was so far and that it was time to go home the next day. What I have not talked about yet was the feeling that we were being watched. Not just at that moment, but the entire time we were there. The print put me and my wife on edge. That combined with the scratchings. We also had a camp deer, a doe that would come down mid-afternoon but would be gone by dusk. I'm pretty sure it was the same deer we experienced the previous year, except it would bed down behind the camp the previous year and leave before dawn. We never heard yelps, no rocks thrown, no trees banged. We just felt like we were being watched and or observed. We will not return to that site. We've been back to the area a few times already, but not that site. I tell anyone I know about the experience I showed them the pics. Most of the time it sparks up some conversation with many people asking if I believe before they will be honest with me. If you laugh, if you tell me it's just a bear print, and these are the ones that piss me off the most. Oh, and for reference, I wear size 11. Thanks for listening and sharing. Okay, man, thanks for that share. I'm just looking at the pictures right here. 2 pictures. It definitely looks like it's in the shape of a footprint, doesn't it? And like I've always said, it's taking pictures of footprints isn't the most easiest thing to do and share them online. There's definitely, you never get across what you are looking at for real. I've had it happen to me, man. And if it was just me and you on the side of the road and you said, hey, take a look at this footprint, maybe being a hunting guide and familiar with footprints and the ground, I would say, well, that's kind of odd that all of the pine needles aren't the same color across that whole area. It's almost like it's all rotten and dark, and dirt tone is different because there used to be a rock or some kind of object there. But it definitely looks like it's in a footprint for sure, and you can see where there's possibly toes in the heel and the arch, the whole 9 yards. But what would be confusing for a stranger not knowing what it was, and somebody saying, look at this footprint, I would automatically, just from my background, my knowledge, I'd be like, that's not footprint, because it should be the exact same color ground straight across with the footprint pressing everything down. You know what I mean? I'm not knocking your footprint, I'm just saying what I would possibly, normally how I would react without even hearing a background story first, right? Interesting story. I'm sure the gunshot got it across to not hang out at your camp, right? It would work on me. Here's another one. Quarryman. Hold on a minute. So I'm sure if you've seen that thing at that site, and it's a popular place to camp, I'll guarantee you somebody else has had the same experience there or seen what you've seen as well. And there's a good chance they're listening to this channel too, with the numbers that are coming here, right? So if there are, maybe possibly, if you've been at the same campground, seen something yourself, maybe comment about it in the comment section below in this video, or even share it, email it in and share it with me if you want. If you want to share it with all the people, I'll do it. quarrymen witness and pursue trespassing human-looking being. Hi, Steve. I'm located in the northwest of the UK. Stockport is the town I was living in when the incident occurred. I was a loader at a sand quarry. This is the end of summer. Conditions were clear. So 5 of us were walking down the haul road, and I'm trailing a couple of strides behind when I switched my attention to my 5 o'clock position to see what I thought was a trespasser stood literally on the edge of the bench no more than 100 meters away. I shouted, "Oi, you aren't allowed to be on here." To this day, it disturbs me what it did. I ran towards the figure. It slowly lowered out of sight as if it was in an elevator. I got to the point where I saw the figure, and in the grass was a wild fox curled up, and it was sound asleep, Steve. It only reacted to my presence when I turned to tell the other lads what was there. Now I know what I saw was not an effing fox. I can't explain it. We all saw it. Then all left the quarry in a hurry. Thank you for your time. Yourself and David Plattis are the only true warriors in this world. 100% respect to you both. Use my name by all means. Regards, Paul, Moxon, UK. Paul, that's definitely not your typical everyday share that we get sent in here, man. I've had something not that drastic. I mean, I've had a guy where I used to live near Pemberton, British Columbia, a guy from Mount Currie, saw 17-inch footprints going across, coming down off the bank in the snow, across the road, paved road, down the bank, and then the prints turned into bobcat prints. And then he as well saw Sasquatch in the Birkenhead River, same day, in the snow, in the water. The natives have always said, indigenous peoples have always said that they can shapeshift into other animals. Sounds far-fetched to what we've been taught is far-fetched, but who knows, right? I can't say it doesn't happen. You guys saw that. All you guys saw what you saw. It's freaking weird. Well, listen to this one. Here comes another one. Thanks for that share, man. Be safe over there. Please read. I don't know if I've lost my mind. Okay. So I'm usually someone that is quick to tell a good story as I return back from many adventures into the woods alone on journeys from D.B. Cooper hunts in Washington State for days to fishing for the whole day alone up mountain rivers in my home state of Montana. Now I'm going to include some semi-specific locations and people by initial because I believe this is where lies some of our answers, and it may just be my opinion amongst others, but I had an experience that made me almost question my own sanity for a moment and makes me get goosebumps uncontrollably just thinking about it. There's no comments in this, alright, you guys? So I might be a little rough. I'm currently writing this from a cabin alongside the Boulder River, way up in the mountains, at a camp called, by the Crow natives, Miminagashi. I believe roughly translating to Singing River. This place is gorgeous, and I've been a lot of places. I grew up on the banks of the Snake River in Idaho. My father, aka the Bowman, took us all over the mountains and even worked at a sporting goods store for many years. This is before I could remember, and I'm 40. Hunting and fishing and the outdoors were our heritage. Washington's Eagle Cliffs, Multnomah Falls, ice caves, tiger muskie fishing in Montana lakes. I say all this because maybe I've been worried in the woods alone a few times or even a little scared, but the experience I had on this day affected more than my emotional standing. It was soulless. I may even be making up my own word when I say that even, but it's for a lack of a better word, I guess. It affected my everything. Anyway, on with my experience. So my very good friend, and who work together, and spend more time than my wife, were doing a flooring install for the above-mentioned camp, and he became ill near the end of the day and called it a day early. That day, about 3 o'clock, which is wonderful news because that gives me time to take off and fish the river and travel upstream out of camp boundary. So I grab my backpack, my fishing pole, and I'm off. As the evening starts to lose a little daylight, I'm having a hard time coming off the river. The fishing was so good between browns and brooks, I totaled 15 fish before dark. I'm not afraid of the dark at all. I find myself enjoying the dark woods most of the time, but this was not one of those times. I finally told myself last cast, but I meant it this time. Well, it is now dark, and I'm about 2 miles upstream from my camp, and I have only my phone as a light sliver moon. And I have only my phone as a light. sliver moon, and a loud Boulder River in my ear. So yes, it's loud and it's dark. Then it happens. It was like someone whispered in my ear to look at me. My heart literally skipped a beat, but quickly made up for it with the next 640,000 in the next 30 seconds. And I'm not a young guy by age anymore, but I'm fit. I thought I was having a heart attack. I don't know. Understanding my body right now. Sorry, I don't understand my body right now. Why I was feeling this? Why was I feeling this? Why? That's when I looked back through the dark, back up the river farther, like someone jerked my head that way and was holding it for me. Two of the boulders suddenly perturbed shoulders and then a head as they stood almost simultaneously and headed up the bank south from the river, same as myself. First thought, bear. Second thought is get up the hill and head towards camp. Now make noise, look big, you know how to handle the situation. So I'm yelling, hey bear. I'm moving briskly towards camp. When I go to step over a tree laying across the ground in my direction of travel, as I lift my leg and go to give another hey bear yell, it won't come out. But my leg isn't moving. Suddenly, my left peripheral view, an animal on two legs, walking at normal speed, walks right by me. That's when I come to realize I was frozen, and I wasn't unable to yell. I was like in a super slow motion, and this creature was in regular motion. The time it took me to even get my foot high enough to get over a 1 foot tall tree on its side, it had walked by me and up over a hill about 40 yards from me. As soon as it was out of sight, it screamed. No moaned a couple of key, low-frequency grunt and got an almost hiss-like response from my rear. My motion became normal again, and I stopped, froze, and listened. There was nothing, and I wasn't afraid anymore of whatever that was, or a bear, or even a spider. I was content. Nirvana, almost. I walked slowly back to camp, still okay, normal, just listening. I wanted to say something to my good friend about what happened, but it still seems uneventful, and as if uninteresting, I guess. He started me listening to your show, and I've always been against most of your emails and what I call fake stories. I don't even know if I should be telling you this. Subconsciously, it feels like I'm doing something wrong. But here's the deal. Something happened to me, and it's still affecting me. Please read this email and help me with your opinion. If the people that are meant to hear this do, then that... Sorry. What the hell's that noise? If the people that are meant to hear this do, then that will be even more evidence to my own thoughts. If they are real and what happened to me is believed by the right people, this is the place to find some proof, I think. I believe. Thank you, Steve. I'm sorry for all the typos. It's okay, man. We got through it. What are my thoughts on it? Well, first off, welcome to the Club of No Return. Who knows what number member you are? Who knows? You could be number 500,001. Who knows how many people are in this club? And you obviously didn't ask to be in the club. It's unfortunate that you, quote, are against most of the stories here, or were. Possibly, maybe you meant you were and you aren't now. I don't know. But you got to think about that, man. What you just experienced. Look at how many people are possibly going to laugh at you or call you crazy or ask you what you've been smoking, right? And there you go. Now you're in that position. Kind of sucks, doesn't it? What's my opinion on it? I don't really have too much of an opinion myself. It's just, for me, it's there we go. Here's another one. There's another experience, and something we've heard from numerous other people too, especially the frozen part. You know, for years, the indigenous people have always said, don't look them in the eye. They'll steal your soul and turn you to rock. Right? That's what it basically translated to. Obviously, that possibly means you're just going to go in absolute shock, shitting yourself, and you can't move, or they do it themselves, or your vibration frequency changed, possibly closely matching theirs, but not quite, but enough for you to see them clearly. Who knows? I don't know, but something frickin' bizarre happened to you, and you're probably never, ever going to forget it, ever. And you're going to think about it every single time you go in the woods for the rest of your life, guaranteed. Just like the rest of us, right? That's why we're here. That's why you're here. And if maybe somebody has something they want to add to your story or share with you. Maybe they'll put it in the comment section below this video, possibly. All right, so keep your eye open there. Thanks for the share. Welcome to the club. It's a big one. It's a big one. All right, this is titled, A Message They Want Passed On. Dear Steve, I've tried to write this several times. I start a draft and then I delete it. But every time I delete it, I'm told there are answers that need to be given, messages delivered. First, let me tell you about me. My name is Barb Hendrickson, and yes, you can use my name. Everyone thinks I'm a bit crazy anyway. Since I can remember, I've heard things that others can't. I can hear electricity. I'm also sensitive to energy given off by living things, animals and people. I can tell who is in my house without being able to see them. For instance, when my son was a teenager, without calling up to his room or going up there, I could tell when he was home and when he was gone. My husband and I would get home from the store, and he would wonder if our son was home. I would tell him what room he was in before we opened the door. I once found missing opossum babies that had escaped from the cage at a wildlife rescue center just by sensing their presence. 2 staff members had searched the room for an hour. I walked in, stopped, and walked right to where they hid hanging by their tails on the bottom of a table. The director no longer questioned me when I told her how an animal was feeling or thinking. I grew up in a city, but never fit in. I was adopted at 12 to a couple who loved to camp. It was never the backwoods kind of stuff, but it didn't matter. Once in Colorado, I sensed we were being followed on a trek through the woods. I looked around, said a silent hello in my mind, and heard one back. Things started dropping out of the trees and gently hitting me. I told my father, who said it was probably squirrels. That night, sitting around the campfire, a good 10 feet from any tree, pine cones landed near my feet, but didn't hit me. I playfully tossed one back. Playful was exactly the feeling of the energy. I heard a voice in my head ask if I could hear her. I laughed and told her that I could. That voice never left me after that. She warned me of danger, and I always felt protected. I never seemed to fit in, whether in the city or the country. I met and married a man raised in BC. Once went on a vacation to see his family. We stayed in the small city of Greenwood. It was the first time in my life I felt home. After I retired, we moved to Greenwood. Near here, there's a provincial park. While there, I felt something very strong in the woods, in the very crowded campground. I walked over to the spot. The familiar voice said that I have come home. She asked if I could see her, but I couldn't. This was her home, where she and her family live. Her father is still the dominant male in their group. She and her son have visited me at my house, leaving footprints in the garden. Now, these are some of the messages she wants me to pass on. All right. Number 1. Just like we are all different, so are they. Some are meat eaters and some are vegetarians. Some are gentle and nurturing and some are aggressive. Number 2. Why do some people have experiences and others do not? It is a matter of vibrational level. Just like them, we all have our own frequency or vibrational energy. If we are high enough, or if we are at the same level as one of them, we can see or communicate with each other. That is why some people can mind speak and some can't. Number 3. Why the feelings of fear or dread? If the person couldn't hear the mind speak message, the telepathy, then feelings are easier to pick up on. Even the lowest vibrational being can sense emotions from others. So, if a person is too low of a level to communicate, it is best that they be frightened off so they don't do any harm accidentally to another being. It is used to protect the person and the Sabe. My friend liked the email you read when you called them something like Chaw-ni-ti. I'm not sure how to spell it. Sometimes it is because a young one is present. They are very protective of their young. Number 4. They see more than we do. Once you let me see how they see, there are so many more colors. They see more of the light spectrum than we can. They see other beings that are not human that we can't see. These other beings that I saw briefly that time were short, maybe 3 to 4 feet tall. It frightened me at first, and she told me that they have always been there. If they wanted to hurt me, they would have a long time ago. Don't be afraid of what you can't see. because it frightened me and because it took a lot of her energy for me to see through her eyes. It only lasted moments. Number 5. The abilities were not taken away from us. They were given up. When our society turned its back on nature and started to believe we were superior, we gave up our abilities. Children have the abilities and the genetic memories, and adults tell them that they are imagining things. It is ridiculed out of us when we are young. If we are older, then we are labeled crazy and given medication. Number 6. Things have to happen and we have to let them happen. When a person gets angry or fights, it lowers their vibrations. She is worried about you fighting the government, fighting society. It is draining you. She wants you to keep up your work at telling the experiences, keep spending time in nature, and learn to relax. That is all the messages for now. She likes you because you don't judge. Sincerely, Barb Hendrickson. Well, that's something else, Barb, and I appreciate that email. Man, I keep hearing something to my left. I don't know if it's me and my jacket rubbing on this. It's just catching my attention. Whatever. If you can email us more, just keep on emailing us more if you got more information or messages for everybody through me, all right? Through this channel. And obviously I think everybody knows that one. You know, you pursue negative topics, you include yourself in negative topics, it just sucks the life out of you because there's no positive there to replace your energy. There just isn't. You know, people can do that to you too. There's always somebody who sucks the energy out of you or sucks the positive out of you and replaces it with nothing, right? And then you get drained and you get bogged down and get sick or whatever. I know what I'm doing. I know where I go and what it does and how it affects me, but you know, with the fight part, somebody's got to do it. Somebody has to do it, right? I mean, obviously me coming forward with the knowledge of what I have seen with my eyes firsthand coming forward on here was basically a bit of a fight, right? It's like offering myself up to a fight, not backing down. And lots of goods come from it, right? Getting back into nature, that's why when I do this, I go out in the woods. I go out in the woods so much it's ridiculous when I can. Lately, this past year, I haven't... Oh. How's it going? Just making a video.
Oh, of what?
Of what?
Yeah.
Oh, for YouTube channel.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What do you do, hunt or fish?
Well, yeah, I used to do that. All right. I don't even know where I left off. The kind man, early 70s, what was going on his daily long walk along this logging road is over here. And he's telling me, ask what I'm doing. And he's all polite and everything. I should have let the tape keep going for that conversation. It was pretty good. But he said he volunteers at the fish hatchery. And the topic came up and he said he was a little bit comical about it. And he says there's one guy there that got angry with him and said, do your research. And he said he figures this guy must know something, and he kind of dropped the topic right there. So I said, well, you might want to treat him with respect and ask him what he knows and be sincere about it. And look him in the eye and he'll probably share with you. So we had a good conversation, good guy. And now I got to get back to doing what I was doing. I don't even know where I left off. But anyway, I don't even know where I left off. I'm pretty sure I got through that last email. And I'm running out of light now. So I'm going to get to the next email right away before I run out of light and I gotta go. Here we go. First Nations thoughts and knowledge. Story time. Love this. I love it when the First Nations people contact me. Abe dash man comma male comma people. Misabe dash great comma big comma man comma male comma people. Sabe dash great comma big comma man comma male comma people bracket short form for Misabe dash great big man male people. Great news on the truckers, and anytime the people stand up for their freedoms and rights. It's great to stand up in solidarity for all our rights as people who care about the future of our great-great-grandchildren. Not here yet. To stand up for the land, the water, the air, and the light/fire/soul that is inside of all creation. We have to stand up for all the animal nations as well who have no voice. Their homes are being destroyed worldwide. We as people of all nations are in the same boat together, and that realization must hit home. Governments don't see us as being different. You can see it in the way we are all treated. It's time to truly understand this before it's too late. We still have a chance to stand together for all the right reasons and stand up for each other. There was a time when the minorities were the only ones being screwed over, but now we all are more than ever. And if you were awake in the last 30 to 40 years, you would have noticed this. Only some people will truly understand the drastic changes that have to be made by the people. There are so many people still asleep from the programming they received through schooling. If those in power want to keep doing what they do to all people worldwide, and all that is life and all creation, then it is time to walk away from these corrupt governments and create a new government that works for the people and all that is life. The people have the right to do this, to create something better for the future, something that is good, positive, that is sustainable for future generations. Rant over, now story time. A few years ago, my cousin and I went fishing, and we fish into the night at times for a couple hours after dark. The place we sometimes go is a set of rapids, and to get there, if we don't go by boat, we have to walk about 1 mile through the bush and over a huge rocky area. This area is about 100 feet above the water's edge at its highest, but still a good little hike. We go about an hour before dark so we can access the area and pick a better route back if need be because of changes to the trail from deadfall or water from runoff. Every time we go to the spot, we have always felt something, that feeling of being watched. At times throughout the years, we heard branches or deadfall being cracked, broken, stepped on, but we always attributed this to bears. I've always wondered about that activity being from something else. We would fish and keep doing so for 3 to 4 hours, an hour before dark and for about 3 hours after dark. On this occasion we did well. We got about 5 walleye each and decided to go back to the truck parked a mile away. On our way back, we picked an area of travel lower than the way we had traveled to the rapids we were at. About halfway back, as I led the way using small flashlights to help see the way, I picked up some color to my left. We came into a level spot on the rocky ground we were on. This area had trees, moss, and it was nice. We had been here before. What we saw was a campsite with brand new camping equipment. There had to be over $1,500 worth of camping equipment laying around, from the tent, 2 sleeping bags, pots, pans, coolers, plates, utensils, the whole 9 yards. I reported this, but nothing ever was said about it. Strange. This being springtime, and judging by the condition of everything, it had to be the previous fall that all this stuff was abandoned. I mentioned to my cousin, someone left in a hurry, that I'd go into the tent and check if maybe someone was in there. But, like I thought, there was no one there. It was a relief not to find anyone. Still, something had happened here, I said. We shone the lights around for a moment and decided to carry on. I led the way, again, and about 30 feet away from the campsite, we came out onto a wide open, flat, rocky area. Then it happened. About 150 feet or less, the trees started cracking and snapping over to our right. And when I shone my light over there, I could see the movement of this one tree along the trail was just used earlier in the evening. Since we know this area like the back of our hands and had passed by this tree before, we know this tree amongst the rest was about 10 inches through the center. I said to shine his light there to double the light to see better. We saw this tree swaying about 6 feet to one side and 6 feet to the other side, back and forth. As we stood there, we talked about it. I asked what he thought it was, but he never said a word. I said, that's no moose or bear, that whatever was doing that had to have hands. Bracket, no one at all was up in that area but us, guaranteed, end bracket. We never saw what was shaking the tree, but we know. I said, do you want to continue in this direction or drop down beside the river? He laughed, and so did I, and said, let's go along the river. So we dropped down about 70 feet and walked the half-mile along the river to the truck. At the time, all of the action on the trail with the trees being broken, we never felt fear, but we knew to respect Sabe. Once in the truck, we leaned in the box of the truck and both lit a cigarette and we talked. I said, I know what you're going to say, but tell me what you think that was. He said, the big man. I said the same thing. On our walk back along the river, we knew we were being watched. The feeling was strong. By the truck, there are good spots to fish along the river, so we dropped down about 20 feet and started fishing, as if we just didn't experience what we just did. Remember, Steve wanted to know how wolves know when an intruder pack enters their territory even though the intruder pack is miles away. Our elders talk about there being two life forces in people, souls, our soul and our shadow. The soul resides in our chests, and our shadow, other soul, resides in our brain. At times, and you would never know it, this shadow projects forward of you and all people, animals and others. Our elders have said that at times to go to your favorite hunting spots using a different way so your quarry doesn't always see you coming. Sometimes your quarry sees you but gives itself up to you. That was the pact of the animal nations to us. The all people, because they took pity on us worldwide because they loved us. So, the wolves actually are seeing the intruder pack of wolves as they step into their territory. Nature has perfected this way of seeing, knowing. Here's an example for all you scientists out there. Haha. Have you ever heard stories where someone was spotted walking, let's say downtown, but at that instance they were actually with a friend miles away? Same thing, exact same thing. We know this to be spiritual, which is what all life is, which is what all creation is, us included. No matter what nation, clan you came from, your existence is spiritual. Know that now, and know we're all related to everything that is creation. That is life. We believe everything in creation has a soul/light, and no matter what it is, we can communicate with it, and we do. We can acknowledge everything and respect everything and not take it for granted, but be thankful. When you go into Sabi's territory, whether you're hiking, biking, canoeing, hunting, jogging, or whatever, you should leave a pouch of tobacco and food if you can. At that time, you should use the thought or use voice to announce your intentions and enjoy your time where you are. Don't fear and be negative. We attract what we fear. So have fun. You'll be safe and not bothered because you gave offerings and spoke the truth. Ever wonder why people that see Sabe somewhere can't see his tracks, footprints? Sometimes people track Sabe, but his trail ends. It is because they can turn invisible, the elders said. Other times people will see Sabe running and say he looked like he was gliding effortlessly, and his movements looked very weird because of the ground it seemed to cover with each stride, and say Sabe was blazing fast. The elders say Sabe at times did not touch the ground. He's actually about a quarter inch above it or less. This is why Sabe moves in the matter and is blazing fast. He's practically flying. That's the other reason Sabe leaves no footprints if he does not want to. Sabe has many gifts, many things he or she can do. Sabe is special. Sabe is our older brother, and he is also our grandfather. Sabe also has great strength and healing powers. We are First Nations, and we respect but not fear what we know is out on the land that we share with all life. We know they are everywhere worldwide. We know Sabe was here before us, just like all the animal nations. We are not within our territories. We are within theirs. But in our creation stories, we know those we live amongst agreed to share the land and resources with us. We know that the animal nations agreed to clothe and feed us and teach us how to live in harmony with all creation. We, in turn, agreed to help look after this great land for future generations. We, as clans, had our territories looked after. This is the way worldwide, before the 1% forcibly changed us all for the land grabs. If you were alive today, your ancestors used to live in tribes and knew the old ways of life, thought, knowledge that my people still carry. If you were alive today, your clan had land across the ocean that was stolen from you. You are just as indigenous as me. I'll talk more on this another time. If you can liken it to be the truth, it is. Some other knowledge. I must say that there are other entities out in the wilderness. Some try to look like Sabe, but are not them. Sometimes you enter an area and it is weirdly quiet. It is because Sabe is hunting there. Or you are sitting somewhere and it becomes quiet. Sabe is now hunting in your area. Put tobacco down whenever you enter. Like I said earlier, ask for protection. You never know what will be out there. There is more, but I will write in again another time. I'll tell you about orbs, share other experiences and other truths and knowledge. I will continue to share other ancient knowledge on Sabe and just old knowledge on topics Steve has mentioned before. Thank you, my brothers and sisters. It is a pleasure to share The time to share what we know is now. The time to help each other is now. Have a great day and night. Holy shit, did I love reading that one. Stanley, please email us again. That was actually sent February 7th, 2022. Stanley, I'm absolutely looking forward to you sharing more knowledge. Please. And it's so much appreciated. And it's very interesting, and if you can re-listen to that, I guess you can't really reread it, can you? But that's definitely an email that I should probably save somewhere and share again, and share it every once in a while so everybody can get that hammered into their head. I hope we hear more from you, Stanley. Absolutely appreciate the time you took to generously share that here with everybody, all right? Absolutely appreciate it. Well, I wonder if I got time for another one. Pretty quiet around here. Now, let me get back down to the bottom of the list, and I'll squeeze one more in before I go and get home and see what the hell is going on in the world and try to look for the right direction I should be going. Do the right thing. Spirits, Second Sight, Sabe, The Trickster Stories. Steve, I really appreciate your channel, the accounts of the witnesses, experiencers, and survivors. Thank you. I believe that some, maybe all people, have a spiritual ability, although many don't use it or have silenced it. I agree. I grew up in a USFS Ranger station in Washington State at the head of the Lake Chelan? C-H-E-L-A-N? Man, I pronounce the shit sometimes, you guys? My dad was the ranger there. In 68 or 69, the NPS took over USFS lands, so my dad became an NPS ranger until he retired in the early 90s. The ranger station had a small bedroom and a large bedroom upstairs and a kitchen, office, living room, bedroom, and bathroom downstairs. My bedroom was the small one upstairs. Every night growing up, I had nightmares about serpents crawling on the floor in a red haze. If I was in the room by myself in the daytime, the hair on the back of my neck would stand on end, and a great fear would overcome me. When I was about 7 or 8, I moved to the downstairs bedroom, and all the nightmares stopped, although at times I could hear things in the big upstairs bedroom walking around. Later, my mother told me that my brother and sister had similar experiences, with my sister actually being touched by something. These things only happen in that room. I also have had deja vu experiences where in a daydream or early morning waking dream I would see a snippet of the future, some meaningful and some not. I would, of course, forget these little visions. And then at some point, 6 to 12 months in the future, I'd be in the position/area of the vision, and like a thunderclap, the vision is before me in full clarity. One time when I was about 12, I had one of these visions. We were walking along next to a big building with a blind approach at the end, and something evil rushed out at me. Well, 6 months later, I was walking by this building as I did almost daily, and the thunderclap vision happens. I spun on my heels and ran like hell, not looking back. These little snippets still occasionally happen to me, and I'm about to be 60. When I was 16, I lived by myself in my mom and dad's little shack, about 7 miles from where they live. When I was 16, I lived by myself in my mom and dad's little shack about 7 miles from where they lived. I was experiencing the bonfire and Rainier beer lifestyle in the summer. Then I would get on my Honda 360, drive about 2 miles back to the shack. Well, this night when I got to the shack, I had to drop a load. The shack had one 60-watt light bulb. The only window was in the front door. I had no flashlight and it was a no-moon night. I really had to go. So I started to the outhouse, old and dilapidated, feeling my way by toe braille. When I made the outhouse, dropped trousers in relief, then I heard running. Slap, 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 slap out of the distance right up to about 10 feet from the outhouse. I was almost catatonic. I held my breath until I was about to pass out. I thought that whatever was out there would hear me breathe. Then, whatever it was ran away. Its pace was about 2 per second, and if you take that take the flat of your hand and lightly slap your belly. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. You will have the idea what it sounded like. As you can guess, I did the 100-foot dash in the dark to the dim light glow in about 10 seconds. No sleep that night. The last thing sharing with you was when I was about 32. I was driving solo on the dirt road to pick up hikers. I drove a van to drop off and pick up ranch guests from Boat Plain and any trailheads that they wanted to hike on. I was on a switchback directly above High Bridge when I looked out the left uphill side window at an old rotten snag that had been broken off about 12 feet up. At that moment, time stood still. That snag slid down the hill right at me, still standing. It stopped about 20 feet away. Then time began again, and everything was as before. I never even hit the brake, but I kept hearing over and over in my head, "This is the trickster coyote." That's all I have today. I'd love to hear what my peers have to say about this, and if any of these things have happened to them. Thanks, Redbeard. All right, Redbeard, thanks for the email, man. And there you go, everybody. If you're familiar where he was, experienced anything like he did, maybe throw it down in the comment section below. Or if it's worthy of a detailed share you want to share with all the people through me, go ahead and get her done and send it over. But anyway, I gotta go home. It's dinner time, and I got more things to do. I gotta talk to a lot of people and see what the appropriate, most effective use of time is coming up to attempt to make a big, good difference in our country. Figure out the right thing to do. It's unfortunate what's going on. I don't know how many of you people have ever been in a country where the so-called leaders are basically going at war with the people. It's not a very comfortable feeling. It's very frustrating. But anyway, keep you posted. And as long as I am here and I have time, I'll keep on sharing these people's voices. All right, you guys? I'll be back soon.